Hello, YouTube. It's the intellectual line cook, and I'm speaking. Let's have a discussion about the hygiene hypocrisy of South Africa Becky and the two French doctors. Now, recently in South Africa, there was this white lady who got all her black workers in line, then teaching them how to wash it. This is how you wash your hands, And this goes back to this passive aggressive racism that white folks like to do. They may not like to use the N word, but they like to call themselves lecturing and being the good white folks, like we don't know nothing unless they teach it to us. So she had these black people, just counting to 20 and all that kind of crap, teaching them how to, as if they didn't know how to wash their hands before. Now, let me get this straight. They're not clean enough to trust them to not spread COVID, but yet they were clean enough for you to hire them to clean your apartment building. Because this white lady was obviously a landlord. She owned some property and she wanted to teach her workers. Now, let's look at history for a second. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Western Europe was in much shambles. And the basic things like plumbing and architecture, and yes, even personal hygiene became a forgotten art. Until the Moors came over there. Because Europe was a mess, so, they were able to easily conquer those lands, but they reintroduced the ideals of mathematics and architecture. They reintroduced hygiene. Because it was a few hundred years since the Roman Empire fell. And they completely forgot that. So, the Black Moors had to reteach them. There was once a time white people were scared to get in the water, and I'm not trying to be racist, but I have to keep it a buck. Who had to literally be taught how to bathe once in the morning, once in the evening. Black people's hygiene is unquestioned. Tell me something. Ask yourself this. If that's not true, there are black restaurants, and if you ever have the pleasure of going to eat in one, when's the last time you got sick eating at a black restaurant? But I bet you if you go to a lot of these little white chains and all that, you got sick at least once. I have. I got sick at least once. That's why I don't really go out to restaurants like that. Even though I used to work in one, I work in one again because at the end of the day we all got to eat. We all got to have a check. Our hygiene is such. I remember when I worked at Village Inn, there was an old man. There was a white male manager, and when he was doing my employee evaluation to give me a raise, he would say, "Hey, Rob, the one thing is." Your food is extraordinary. Your food is top notch. Hey, look, a brother can throw down in the kitchen. I don't know what to tell you. I can throw down. That's real. I need my own restaurant. But anyway, and the thing he told me is, dude, your hygiene's better than anybody up in here. What does that tell you? We don't need to be lectured. It's just like the fact that, when white people put their little Facebook memes on some try to show a black person telling you, hey, black people, you can't get Rona. Because there was this running joke for a little bit that, black folks couldn't get Rona. But most black people with enough sense, and we are the majority, most of us have enough sense there to say, hey, that's not fucking true. They're telling us, you see, like, wash your hands and stuff like that. What a black person does, we already do that. We're not saying we can't, obviously not. We already knew that we could get it. It was a joke. It wasn't right. Most of us knew better because we knew when it blows up, and it was going to be white supremacists were going to throw it right back in our face. I've told people in my own face, I says, dude, don't believe that shit that we can't get no Rona. I told them that 2 months ago. I said, don't believe that shit. We can get Rona just like anything else. We're still human. Hey, black folks are human beings. It's a human coronavirus. So now that are starting to blow up in Africa, and all these black celebrities are actually dying, and in the cities of the United States, white people are throwing it in our faces now. They're quick to share little clips on Facebook about that's their little way of saying, hey, look, you niggers think you know everything, and you don't know as much as you think you do. Look, this black guy's telling you can. Look, he got Rona. They're not the majority. Those black people never spoke for us. And nor do I as a black man, have to take responsibility for the foolishness of a minority. I do not have to take responsibility for that. They're a minority, and that's it, and let's keep it moving. Because after all, when white people go on mass shootings and stuff, when they do their little crazy crimes and stuff, we can't go around saying, hey, the majority of white people think that way. We can't. The first thing you're going to say, well, you know what? Hey, that guy who did that shooting, he was a lone wolf. But you better believe when it's a black person or a brown person, the mentality is, oh, well, he's got to be working with somebody. We got to see who he was working with. We got to see who was, and they'll try to round up everybody that was around him. Remember Mikhail Johnson? They want to round up everybody he knew. They used the term black identity extremists. But yet, when white people go on mass shootings, we couldn't use the groups that they were talking to. We couldn't correlate that with what they did. So no, I no more take responsibility for that than white people take for mass shootings. Now let me get on to these two French doctors. Now on live TV, they would dare suggest that any new coronavirus vaccine be tried in Africa first. And I'm like, damn, just like the old days, when white folks wanted to learn something about anatomy, they'd experiment on black people. There's a reason why a lot of times black people don't trust doctors and stuff like that. There's a reason why a lot of us don't trust the medical field or traditional medicine as it is. Because there's a history of us being exploited by it. Everything to what those two French doctors in all of Africa, and I'm so happy that black folks got on code and started attacking those doctors. How dare you suggest black people are not your fucking guinea pigs? We're not your guinea pigs at all. Hashtag y'all first. You want to try a vaccine? Experiment on your own. Don't sit there and go and try to take advantage of Africans and African Americans. That's the one thing that a lot of times, is black Americans. That's something the entire diaspora has in common. We both have a distrust because we both have a history of being exploited by the medical field. Even former President Barack Obama came out and said, hey, you know what? Don't trust any vaccine or anything that comes from the United States or Europe. Dude, that's the most pro-black thing I've ever heard Barack Obama said. He had 8 years as president to say something that pro-black, and he did not say that. It'd have been nice if he showed up as president, but he didn't. Kind of late for that. But I'm glad he still said it. This kind of medical exploitation goes back. One of the biggest examples I could bring up is the Tuskegee experiments that were done in Tuskegee, Alabama, where black men were injected syphilis and they were monitored to see what it did to them over time, and it shortened a lot of their life expectancies. So before anybody starts to tell black folks what to do and what we ought to take and what we ought to do, just please consider that. We have a huge history of being exploited. There's a reason why we don't trust. See, when white folks experience a little control for the first time, you start cooking up all these little weird theories about 5G and like, how can you be quarantined when you're not sick, and that's how it's not quarantine, but it's control. See, all that weird conspiracy stuff, all that is you're not used to being black. See, we go through that all the time. Everybody thought, hey, well, you know what? You shouldn't have been doing stuff wrong. Look, we get harassed and stopped all the time. The only difference is that rodent is the equalizer. And everyone's getting the same treatment. Everyone is. And some of you don't know how to handle that. Relax. You've only been black for a week. This is the Intellectual Line Cook, and I'm speaking.